On this planet, there exists a realm so vast that the horizon itself seems to stretch into eternity. A place where winter is not merely a season, but a tyrant that rules with an iron fist of ice. This is Siberia. Here in the heart of the Siberian wilderness, nature demands a toll from every living soul. The wind screams through the ancient pines, a sound louder than silence, carrying a biting cold that can freeze breath before it even leaves the lungs. It is a landscape of blinding white beauty and ruthless indifference, where civilization feels like a distant memory. But look closer. Amidst this freezing void, life does not just exist, it defies the odds. From the silent, ghostly tracks of a lone wolf to the majestic flight of an eagle against a steel gray sky, every heartbeat here is an act of rebellion against the cold. In a land where temperatures plunge to levels that can shatter steel, only the strongest endure. What does it truly take to survive in a world that seems designed to extinguish life? Welcome to the edge of the world. Welcome to Siberia. Rising from the earth like the spine of a sleeping giant, the Altai Mountains stand as the undisputed fortress of the north, located at the majestic intersection where the borders of Russia, Mongolia, China, and Kazakhstan collide. These peaks are more than just a geographical wonder. They are ancient sentinels guarding the secrets of the Siberian wilderness. The locals have long whispered of them as the Golden Mountains, but in the grip of winter, they are forged in silver, ice, and steel. This is a landscape of dramatic contradictions. Here, the vast rolling steppes of Central Asia suddenly crash into jagged tectonic plates, thrusting the earth upward into the clouds. To stand in the shadow of the Altai is to feel the crushing weight of geological time. The air here is thin, crisp, and utterly devoid of the smog of modern industry. It is pristine, yet punishing. In the deep, winding valleys, shadows linger long after sunrise, keeping the ground locked in a permanent embrace of permafrost. High above, the peaks catch the full, unfiltered force of the jet stream. Snowstorms in this region do not simply pass through. They besiege the mountains, burying landmarks in minutes and turning the world into a blinding white void. Yet this forbidding terrain serves as a critical sanctuary within the Siberian wilderness. It is a stronghold for life that seeks isolation to survive. The silence here is heavy, a tangible presence broken only by the sudden crack of shifting glacier ice or the distant, thunderous rumble of an avalanche. It is a place where the landscape itself dictates the rules of engagement. For a human explorer, these mountains represent a challenge to be conquered, a test of will against the elements. But for the creatures that call them home, this vertical world is the only reality they know. It is a world where one misstep on a slick rock face means certain death, but where safety can often be found on the terrifying edge of a precipice. Below the unforgiving snowline, the slopes are draped in dense, brooding forests of Siberian larch and cedar. This is where the taiga attempts to climb the mountainside. These trees are twisted and gnarled, shaped by decades of relentless wind, standing like an army of old soldiers refusing to retreat. They provide the first line of defense against the elements, sheltering the valleys below from the worst of the gales. As you ascend, the trees eventually surrender to the altitude, giving way to alpine meadows now buried under feet of hard-packed snow. And finally, to the barren, wind-scoured rock of the summits. This vertical layering creates unique pockets of life. hidden theaters where predators and prey engage in a daily dance of survival. The Altai is the first great test, the barrier that separates the weak from the enduring. Descending from the frozen heights of the Altai, the landscape undergoes a profound transformation. We are entering a realm that swallows the horizon, a green ocean that stretches across the curvature of the earth. This is the taiga forest, the largest land biome on the planet. It is a kingdom of conifers, a sprawling wilderness that wraps around the northern hemisphere like a scarf. But nowhere is it as vast, as deep, or as mysterious as it is here in Siberia. In winter, the taiga forest falls into a deep, hypnotic slumber. From above, it appears as an endless tapestry of white and dark green, a monochromatic world where color has been drained by the cold. But down on the forest floor, the reality is far more intimate and intense. The silence here is absolute. The thick carpet of snow absorbs every sound, creating a stillness that feels almost sacred. There is no rustling of leaves, no flowing water. Even the wind seems to hold its breath as it weaves through the dense trunks. It is a silence that commands respect, reminding any traveler that they are merely a guest in a very old, very patient world. The trees here, larch, spruce, and pine, are the true survivors of this frozen epoch. They are not merely plants, they are architectural marvels of evolution. To survive the taiga forest winter, they have adapted in ways that defy imagination. Their conical shapes are designed to shed the heavy weight of snow that would snap the branches of lesser trees. Their needles, dark and waxy, are built to retain moisture and capture every fleeting photon of weak winter sunlight. In a season where the sun barely skirts the horizon, these trees are starving for energy, yet they stand tall, resilient against temperatures that regularly drop below minus 30 degrees Celsius. Walking through the heart of the taiga forest, one can feel the sheer density of life waiting in suspension. The ground beneath the snow is frozen solid, a layer of permafrost that never truly thaws. This icy barrier prevents roots from growing deep, forcing the trees to spread wide, interlocking with their neighbors for stability. It is a silent brotherhood of roots, holding the forest together against the violent storms that sweep across the plains. When the gales blow, the entire forest sways in unison, a creaking, groaning chorus of wood and ice that echoes through the twilight. But this harshness serves a purpose. The cold is a preservative. It slows down decay, keeping the forest in a state of suspended animation. Nothing is wasted here. A fallen tree might take decades to decompose, its nutrients locked away in the ice, waiting for a brief window of warmth to return to the soil. This is the paradox of the taiga forest. It is a place of incredible hardship, yet it is also a cradle of life. It provides shelter for millions of creatures, shielding them from the biting wind. Without these trees, the Siberian wilderness would be nothing but a barren wasteland. Instead, it is a fortress of wood and needle, a sanctuary that endures the long night, waiting patiently for the return of the sun. In this frozen cathedral of the taiga, the silence is not empty, it is waiting. And then a sound shatters the stillness, a haunting, melodic cry that rises to the treetops and drifts across the miles. It is a signal, a warning, and a declaration of ownership. The gray wolves are on the move. These are not the villains of fairy tales. They are the disciplined legions of the Siberian wilderness. To see a Siberian wolf is to witness evolution honed to a razor's edge. They move through the deep drifts like phantoms, their paws broad and webbed, acting as natural snowshoes that distribute their weight over the fragile crust of ice. Their coats are thick, a mix of gray and tawny fur that blends seamlessly with the bark of the larch trees, rendering them nearly invisible until they choose to be seen. But it is their eyes that truly captivate. Amber, intelligent, and unyielding. In them burns a fierce determination that has allowed their kind to endure here for millennia. Winter is the wolf's greatest ally, but also its harshest taskmaster. Food is scarce, and the energy required simply to stay warm is immense. A lone wolf in this environment is a tragedy waiting to happen. The cold cares nothing for the individual. That is why their strength lies in numbers. The pack is not merely a family. It is a single, cohesive organism, driven by a shared survival instinct. Every member has a role, from the alpha pair, who lead with calculated experience, to the younger subordinates, who learn the art of the hunt through observation and obedience. Watch as they navigate the forest floor. They travel single file, stepping into the paw prints of the leader to conserve energy, a tactic born of ancient wisdom. They are searching for weakness, the scent of a wounded elk, the faltering step of an aging reindeer. The hunt in Siberia is not a chaotic frenzy. It is a game of high-stakes chess played on a board of ice. They test their prey, probing for vulnerability, communicating with subtle body language that speaks volumes without a sound. A flick of an ear, a baring of teeth, a low growl. The pack moves as one mind in many bodies. When the chase begins, the forest explodes into motion. The wolves are endurance runners, capable of maintaining a punishing pace for hours, wearing down their quarry not with speed, but with sheer, relentless persistence. In the deep snow, the heavy hooves of their prey become a liability, sinking and stumbling, while the wolves glide across the surface. It is a brutal dance, one that has played out in these woods since the Ice Age. Yet, there is no malice here. This is simply the transfer of energy from one life to another, the fundamental law of the wild. But survival is not just about the kill. When the storm winds howl and the temperature plummets, the pack curls together in the snow, noses tucked under tails to recycle their own breath. They share their warmth, reinforcing the bonds that keep them alive. In the Siberian wilderness, intimacy is a survival strategy. The howl that echoes through the night is a reminder to all who hear it. In the face of the overwhelming cold, no one survives alone. The wolf pack stands as a testament to the power of unity, a living proof that even in the bleakest of winters, life finds a way to endure together. Emerging from the dense canopy of the taiga, the world suddenly opens up into a vast, flat expanse that defies comprehension. This is not merely a body of water. It is a liquid abyss, a geological miracle known as Lake Baikal. To stand on its shores is to stand at the edge of the deepest, oldest, and most voluminous freshwater lake on Earth. It holds 20% of the planet's unfrozen fresh water, more than all the Great Lakes of North America combined. But in the grip of the Siberian winter, Lake Baikal undergoes a transformation that is nothing short of magical. By midwinter, the surface of the lake has turned into a solid shield of ice, over a meter thick in places. Yet this is not the opaque white ice of a skating rink. The water here is so impossibly pure that the ice freezes clear as glass. Walking upon it feels like walking on air, suspended over a dark, bottomless void. Looking down, one can see bubbles of methane trapped in suspended animation, like pearls frozen in time, and the faint, ghostly outlines of rocks sitting deeper than the eye should be able to see. It is a mesmerizing, almost vertigo-inducing experience, earning Lake Baikal its poetic title, the Blue Eye of Siberia. But the most striking feature of Lake Baikal in winter is not what you see, but what you hear. The lake is alive. As the temperature fluctuates, the massive sheet of ice expands and contracts, creating a symphony of sounds that range from the musical to the terrifying. Low, mournful groans emanate from the deep, followed by sudden, sharp cracks that sound like pistol shots or thunder clapping from beneath your feet. These ice quakes can create fissures that run for miles, revealing the dark water below. For the uninitiated, it is a terrifying reminder of the immense power shifting just inches beneath their boots. For the locals, it is simply the lake breathing, the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. In this frozen world, finding open water seems impossible. Yet there is a singular exception. At the source of the Angara River, the only river to flow out of Lake Baikal, a strong undercurrent pulls the warmer water from the deep up to the surface. This constant motion prevents the ice from taking hold, creating a permanent steaming window of open water in a world of ice. This is the lifeline of the lake. It is here, in this shroud of mist, that life congregates. Flocks of golden-eyed ducks paddle furiously against the current. These resilient birds have chosen to brave the Siberian winter rather than migrate south, gambling their lives on this small patch of liquid. They are master divers, disappearing into the dark, frigid waters to snatch mollusks and small fish from the riverbed. Alongside them, the majestic whooper swans glide with an elegance that belies the brutal cold. Their white feathers blend with the steam rising from the water, making them look like spirits drifting in the fog. For these creatures, Lake Baikal is both a sanctuary and a prison. The open water keeps them alive, providing food and safety from land predators like foxes and wolves, who dare not swim in the freezing current. But they are trapped, surrounded by hundreds of miles of solid ice and snow. They cannot leave this oasis until spring breaks the siege. They are refugees of the cold, huddled together in the warmth of the lake's breath. Lake Baikal stands as a testament to the complexity of the Siberian wilderness. It is a place of extremes, extreme depth, extreme cold, and extreme beauty. It challenges our understanding of what is possible in nature, preserving a prehistoric world beneath its crystal surface. As the sun sets, casting long purple shadows across the transparent ice, the lake groans once more, a deep, resonant sound that vibrates through the soles of your feet, a reminder that even under the thickest ice, the heart of Siberia is still beating. Away from the open vastness of the Great Lake, in the winding tributaries that vein through the taiga forest, another story of survival is being written not by teeth and claws, but by wood and mud. Here lives a creature often overlooked, yet it possesses a power that rivals the geological forces of the earth itself. Meet the Siberian beaver, the master engineer of the wild. While the wolf relies on the pack and the leopard relies on stealth, the beaver relies on industry. In a landscape where the environment is often an enemy, the beaver dares to change the environment to suit its needs. Throughout the brief summer, they are tireless, felling trees with chisels of orange enamel teeth that never stop growing. But their goal is not destruction, it is creation. They drag branches, stones, and mud to construct dams across the flowing streams. These are not random piles of debris. They are sophisticated feats of hydroengineering, watertight and incredibly resilient. But why work so hard? The answer lies in the coming winter. As the temperature drops and the Siberian wilderness begins to freeze, shallow streams turn to solid ice, locking away any food sources beneath. By building a dam, the beaver creates a deep, stagnant pond. The surface may freeze into a thick crust, but the water beneath remains liquid, a secret underwater world, safe from the biting wind. This pond becomes their fortress. In the center, they construct a lodge, a castle of sticks rising from the water. Its entrance is submerged, accessible only from below the ice. Inside, the beaver family remains warm and dry, sleeping on a bed of wood chips while a blizzard rages outside. It is a brilliant survival instinct. On the snowy banks, predators like the wolf or the lynx may prowl, smelling the warm scent of prey. But they are thwarted by the frozen moat. The beavers are safe, snacking on a pantry of branches they had the foresight to anchor to the pond floor months ago. However, the genius of the beaver extends far beyond its own survival. By damming the river, they inadvertently become the saviors of the forest. These ponds create wetlands, slowing the flow of water and filtering out sediments. In the depths of winter, these pockets of deep water become a refuge, not just for the beavers, but for fish, frogs, and insects that would otherwise perish in a frozen stream. They draw in otters who hunt the fish, and kingfishers who watch from the snag branches. In this way, the beaver is a keystone species. Their labor supports an entire web of life. A single beaver family can transform a barren stretch of forest into a thriving oasis of biodiversity. Even long after they have moved on, their abandoned dams remain, continuing to nurture the land for decades. In the grand, silent narrative of Siberia, where most creatures merely struggle to exist, the beaver is the one authoring its own chapter, proving that even the smallest paws can leave a permanent mark on the face of the earth. Far beyond the shelter of the tree line, where the taiga fades into the stark white emptiness of the frozen tundra, the wind howls with a ferocity that strips the land bare. Here there are no trees to break the gale, no caves for shelter. In this unforgiving open expanse, survival seems impossible. Yet, emerging from the driving snow like ghosts from a forgotten era, stands a herd of giants, the muskox. These creatures are living relics, biological time capsules that have walked the earth since the Pleistocene. They shared this landscape with woolly mammoths and saber-toothed cats. Those legends are gone, claimed by extinction, but the muskox remains. To look into their dark, ancient eyes is to look back 10,000 years. They move slowly, deliberate and unhurried, conserving every ounce of energy. In the Siberian wilderness, haste is a waste of heat, and heat is the only currency that matters. Their secret to defying the frozen tundra lies in their armor. A muskox is essentially a fortress of hair. Long, shaggy guard hairs trail down to the ground, forming a windproof skirt that shields their legs. But underneath this coarse exterior lies a hidden miracle, the kiviut. This dense inner wool is softer than cashmere and 8 times warmer than sheep's wool. It creates an insulating layer so efficient that the snow on their backs doesn't even melt from body heat. Inside this suit of biological armor, the muskox stands in a personal tropical microclimate, impervious to the minus 50-degree bite of the winter air. But the cold is not the only enemy here. The tundra is also the hunting ground of the Arctic wolf. When a pack appears on the horizon, gray shadows against the white snow, the muskox do not run. Running triggers the predator's chase instinct, and in deep snow, heavy hooves are no match for paws. Instead, they stand their ground. Driven by an ancient survival instinct, the herd performs a maneuver as old as their species. They form a circle. Shoulder to shoulder, massive heads lowered, they create an impenetrable wall of curved, sharp horns facing outward. It is a phalanx of muscle and bone. Inside this living fortress, the vulnerable calves are tucked away, shielded by the bodies of their mothers and the strength of the bulls. The wolves circle, testing the line, looking for a gap, a moment of panic. But the line holds. The bulls snort, their breath erupting in clouds of steam, daring the predators to come closer. Against this united front, the wolves are often forced to retreat, hungry and defeated. In the brutal arithmetic of the North, the muskox has solved the equation of survival, not by fleeing, but by enduring. They are the stoic guardians of the pole, proving that sometimes the best way to face the storm, whether it be wind or wolf, is to stand together and refuse to yield. High above the timberline, where the air is thin and the rocks are scoured by eternal winds, lies a vertical world that few dare to enter. This is the domain of the snow leopard. Known to the local people as the ghost of the mountains, this elusive cat is a myth made flesh. It is one of the rarest and most secretive predators on Earth. A phantom that drifts through the jagged peaks of the Siberian wilderness like a whisper. To survive here, the snow leopard has evolved into the ultimate alpinist. Its coat, a beautiful tapestry of smoky gray and dark rosettes, renders it invisible against the granite cliffs. You could be staring directly at one from 50 feet away and see nothing but rock and shadow until it moves. Its paws are enormous, acting as natural crampons that grip the icy ledges, and its tail, thick and almost as long as its body, serves a dual purpose: a heavy counterweight for balance during death-defying leaps, and a warm muffler to wrap around its nose during the freezing nights. But being a ghost does not guarantee a meal. Food up here is incredibly scarce. A snow leopard may walk for over a week, traversing endless ridges, just to find the single opportunity. And today, that opportunity has appeared. Far below, on a precipitous ledge, a Siberian ibex grazes on a patch of dried grass. The stage is set for a high-stakes duel. The leopard lowers its body, belly fur brushing the snow, and begins the approach. Every muscle is tense, every step calculated. It must get close, painfully close, because the ibex is nimble and paranoid, ready to bolt at the sound of a falling pebble. The silence stretches, taut as a wire. Then the leopard strikes. It explodes from cover, a blur of gray fur. The ibex reacts instantly, diving down the sheer face of the cliff. What follows is not a run, but a controlled fall. Predator and prey plummet down the mountainside, bounding from rock to rock with suicidal, reckless abandon. The snow leopard is relentless, launching itself across chasms, relying on its massive tail to steer in midair. It is a chaotic, tumbling ballet of life and death played out on the edge of the abyss. One slip means broken bones and a slow, freezing death. Most hunts end in failure. The terrain is too treacherous, the prey too fast. But when the ghost succeeds, it is a hard-won victory. Dragging the heavy carcass back up the cliff to safety, the leopard secures its survival for another week. In this unforgiving altitude, beauty and brutality are inseparable, and the snow leopard reigns as the solitary king of the peaks. While the land below is locked in a frozen siege, the skies above the Siberian wilderness become a highway for one of the greatest spectacles in the natural world. As the first frost begins to bite, a signal, unseen and unheard by humans, ripples through the wetlands. It is time to leave. The Siberian crane, a creature of exquisite grace with plumage as white as the snow it flees, prepares for a marathon that defies belief. These are not merely birds. They are endurance athletes of the highest order. With a wingspan stretching nearly 8 feet, they gather in the marshes, their calls echoing like trumpets, heralding the changing of the season. They face a journey of thousands of miles, crossing hostile borders, mountain ranges, and barren deserts to reach their wintering grounds in the south. Watch as they take flight. They do not fly as individuals, but as a collective intelligence. Forming a perfect V formation, they slice through the air resistance. The leader at the apex breaks the wind, creating a slipstream that allows the birds behind to glide with less effort. When the leader tires, it falls back, and another takes its place. It is a master class in cooperation and survival instinct. For the Siberian crane, staying behind means certain death, but the journey itself is fraught with peril. Only the strongest will return when the ice melts. But not all who rule the sky choose to leave. For one supreme predator, the winter sky is not a reason to flee, but a vantage point to conquer. Meet the golden eagle, the undisputed lord of the Siberian air. While the cranes seek warmth, the eagle thrives in the cold. With a wingspan that casts a terrifying shadow over the steppe, this raptor is a weapon of precision engineering. Its eyes are biological telescopes, capable of spotting a hare moving against the white snow from 3 miles away. Perched on a jagged outcrop or circling on a thermal updraft, the eagle waits. Patience is its primary virtue. When the target is locked, the eagle folds its massive wings and drops. It transforms from a drifting glider into a missile, plummeting at speeds reaching 150 miles per hour. The sound of the wind tearing past its feathers is the last thing its prey will never hear. In the blink of an eye, talons as sharp as curved daggers strike with crushing force. The impact is often enough to kill instantly. This is a brutal existence. The golden eagle must hunt constantly to fuel its metabolic fire against the freezing temperatures. There is no room for error. A missed strike means expended energy with no reward, a dangerous deficit in the calculus of survival. Yet seeing an eagle perched atop a frozen pine, surveying its domain with a regal, piercing gaze, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe. In the Siberian wilderness, the sky is not a sanctuary, it is a battlefield. And whether by the endurance of the migration or the precision of the hunt, life here demands absolute mastery of the air. In the deep, crushing winter of the frozen tundra, the landscape is reduced to a single blinding shade of white. To the human eye, it appears empty, a barren desert of ice. But this emptiness is an illusion. Here, invisibility is the greatest superpower, and for those who wish to survive, blending in is not just a strategy, it is the only way of life. Perched motionless on a drift of snow, the snowy owl is a master of this ghostly art. With feathers as white as the blizzard itself, it is nearly impossible to spot until it opens its eyes, two piercing orbs of golden fire. This bird does not need to hide in trees. It hides in plain sight, a phantom sitting in the open. But its true power lies not in its camouflage, but in its silence. The snowy owl possesses a lethal gift. Its flight feathers are fringed with a soft, velvet-like down that muffles the sound of air passing over its wings. It flies without a whisper, a silent death descending from the gray sky. Yet, even more impressive is its hearing. Underneath the thick blanket of snow, a secret world of lemmings and voles scurries through tunnels, thinking they are safe. They are wrong. The owl can hear the heartbeat of a mouse under a foot of snow. With a sudden, silent swoop, it punches through the icy crust, talons first, plucking a meal from the darkness below. But the owl is not the only phantom patrolling these wastes. Scavenging in its wake is a creature of boundless energy and cunning, the Arctic fox. If the owl is the silent assassin, the Arctic fox is the resilient survivor. Weighing only a few pounds, this small canid is tougher than it looks. It possesses the warmest coat of any animal its size found on Earth, a dense, multi-layered fur that traps heat so effectively it can withstand temperatures of minus 70 degrees without shivering. Like the owl, the fox changes with the seasons. In summer, it wears a coat of brown and gray to match the rocky earth. But as winter approaches, it dons a pristine white uniform, dissolving into the background of the frozen tundra. Watching an Arctic fox hunt is to witness a moment of pure, desperate comedy and tragedy intertwined. Relying on its acute hearing, the fox tilts its head, listening for the faint scratching of rodents beneath the snow. It triangulates the sound, muscles tensing like a coiled spring. Then it leaps high into the air, diving headfirst into the snowbank like a torpedo. For a moment, only its tail is visible, wagging as it digs. Often it emerges with a mouthful of snow and nothing else. But failure is not an option. Driven by a relentless survival instinct, it tries again and again. These two white spirits, the owl and the fox, are bound together in this frozen landscape. They are competitors, both relying on the boom and bust cycles of the lemming population. In lean years, when the rodents vanish, the tundra becomes a graveyard. But when life is plentiful, these predators thrive, raising new generations of ghosts to haunt the snow. They are the living embodiment of the North, beautiful, silent, and perfectly adapted to a world that offers no mercy. Deep within the shadowed corridors of the taiga forest, where the trees grow thick and the snow piles high, a giant stirs. The silence is broken not by a howl or a scream, but by the heavy, rhythmic crunch of massive hooves crushing the frozen crust. Emerging from the mist is a creature that seems to belong to a different epoch, the moose. This is the monarch of the northern woods. Standing over 6 feet tall at the shoulder and weighing nearly 700 kilograms, a bull moose is a titan of muscle and bone. In the Siberian wilderness, size is a double-edged sword. Being large means you can retain heat better than a small fox, but it also means you require a staggering amount of fuel to keep the furnace burning. Watch him move. His legs are disproportionately long, acting like stilts that allow him to wade through snowdrifts that would trap a wolf or a deer. He moves with a slow, deliberate grace, navigating the dense thickets with surprising quietness for such a colossal beast. But winter is a time of starvation. The lush aquatic plants of summer are locked under ice. Now he must survive on a diet of woody twigs, pine needles, and bark. It is a coarse, low-energy diet, barely enough to sustain his massive bulk. Every step must be calculated, every calorie preserved. But the most striking feature of the bull moose is his crown. During the autumn rut, he wielded a set of antlers spanning 6 feet across, a heavy, palmate weapon used to clash with rivals in violent, earth-shaking battles for dominance. Those battles were fueled by testosterone and aggression, securing his genetic legacy. But now, as the deep winter sets in, the season of war is over. In a remarkable biological strategy, the moose does something counterintuitive. He disarms himself. The connection between skull and antler weakens. With a simple shake of his head, the massive bone structure, weighing as much as 30 kilograms, falls to the snow. It seems like a loss, but in the brutal economy of the taiga forest, it is a liberation. Carrying that weight requires energy he no longer has. By shedding his antlers, he conserves precious calories to survive the freezing months ahead. He is now a king without a crown, blending into the gray trunks of the forest. The cast-off antlers will not go to waste. They will be gnawed on by mice and squirrels, returning vital calcium to the ecosystem. Come spring, when the green shoots return, a new set will begin to grow, covered in velvet, rising from his brow faster than any other bone in the animal kingdom. For now, however, he is solitary. The moose does not rely on the safety of a herd. He faces the Siberian winter alone, a stoic giant standing against the cold. His breath forms clouds of steam in the twilight, a testament to the fire of life burning within. He is the unstoppable force of the forest, a living reminder that in Siberia, even the mightiest must sometimes shed their armor to survive the siege of winter. In the deep drifts where the moose struggles and the wolf pack must work in unison, there exists a solitary hunter designed perfectly for the snow. The Siberian lynx is not merely a cat. It is a phantom with snowshoes. Look at its paws. They are disproportionately large, broad, and covered in thick fur. When it steps, its toes spread wide, doubling the surface area. While other predators sink and flounder in the deep powder, the lynx floats. It moves across the surface with a terrifying silence, a ghost drifting through the trees. Its short tail and tufted ears are not just decoration, they are sensory tools, tuning into the slightest rustle of a hair buried deep in a burrow. The lynx is a patient ambush predator. It does not chase for miles like the wolf. It waits. It calculates. In the Siberian wilderness, energy is precious. A failed chase is a disaster. When it strikes, it is a blur of tawny fur and muscle, a single explosive leap that closes the distance before the prey even registers the danger. It is elegance weaponized. But sharing these same woods is a creature that possesses none of the lynx's grace, yet commands even more respect. Emerging from the undergrowth with a rolling, hunched gait is the wolverine. Do not let its size fool you. Resembling a small bear but related to the weasel, the wolverine is pound for pound one of the strongest and most ferocious animals on the planet.
It is the embodiment of pure, unfiltered survival instinct. While the lynx avoids trouble, the wolverine actively seeks it out. It is a scavenger by trade, possessed of a nose that can smell a frozen carcass from miles away under 20 feet of snow. The wolverine is built for hardship. Its jaws are powerful enough to crush frozen bone, the only way to access the nutrient-rich marrow when the meat is rock hard. But its true superpower is its attitude.
In the brutal hierarchy of Siberia, the wolverine bows to no one. There are documented accounts of a single 20-kilogram wolverine driving a pack of wolves, or even a grizzly bear, away from a kill. It fights with a manic intensity, a fearless rage that convinces much larger predators that the meal is simply not worth the injury. For the wolverine, the winter is not a time of suffering. It is a time of opportunity. It scales steep cliffs and crosses mountain ranges that would kill a human mountaineer, all to find the leftovers of another's kill. It is the ultimate opportunist, a rugged, indomitable spirit that thrives in the worst conditions imaginable. Together, the silent lynx and the ferocious wolverine represent two sides of the same coin. One survives through stealth and specialization, the other through sheer audacity and grit. They are the hidden fighters of the taiga, proving that in this frozen arena, it is not always the biggest who win, it is the most determined. In the rocky outcrops and dense undergrowth where the shadows linger longest, a creature moves with the caution of a secret agent. At first glance, it appears to be a small, harmless deer. But when it turns to face you, it reveals a feature that belongs in a horror movie rather than a nature documentary. Protruding from its upper jaw are two long, curved fangs. This is the Siberian musk deer, often called the vampire deer. But these fangs are not for drinking blood. They are for war. The musk deer lacks antlers. Instead, evolution has armed the males with these saber-like tusks to fight for territory and mates. They are solitary, elusive creatures, hopping through the steep terrain with a unique kangaroo-like gait. They spend their lives in the shadows, scraping moss and lichen from rocks, always wary, always watching. They are the shy introverts of the Siberian wilderness, surviving by remaining unseen, their terrifying appearance a stark contrast to their gentle nature. However, silence is not a rule followed by everyone. As winter begins to loosen its grip and the first hints of spring arrive, the deep taiga forest echoes with a strange, rhythmic sound. Click, pop, cork pop. It sounds like water dripping into a cave, or sticks breaking. But it is the song of the capercaillie, the giant grouse of the north. Known as the horse of the woods for its size, the male capercaillie is a bird of spectacular vanity. To win a mate, he stages a performance that consumes his entire being. He fans his tail like a turkey, throws his head back, and struts across the Lekka traditional dancing ground. His song starts slowly and accelerates into a frenzy of hisses and pops. During the climax of his song, a strange phenomenon occurs. The bird becomes so engrossed in his own performance, so overwhelmed by the rush of blood to his head, that he temporarily goes deaf. He loses all awareness of his surroundings. For a few seconds, this normally cautious bird is vulnerable to any predator, fox, lynx, or hunter that might be stalking nearby. He risks his life for a chance at love. It is a striking juxtaposition in the wild. The musk deer survives by being a ghost, hiding its weapons in the dark. The capercaillie survives by becoming a spectacle, shouting its presence to the world. gambling everything on a moment of passion. Both strategies, as different as they are, serve the same ultimate master: the drive to pass on life to the next generation before the cold returns. For 6 long, brutal months, the Siberian wilderness has been held in a state of suspended animation, a white canvas painted with ice. But nothing lasts forever. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the tilt of the earth shifts. The sun climbs higher in the sky, and its rays, once feeble and cold, begin to carry the weight of warmth. The change, when it comes, is not gentle. It is violent and rapid. The silence of winter is shattered by the thunderous roar of the great river, the Lena, the Yenisei, the Ob, breaking their chains. Massive slabs of ice, some the size of city blocks, crash and grind against each other as the water surges free. It is the sound of the land taking its first deep breath after holding it for half a year. As the snow retreats, it reveals a miracle. The brown earth, starved of light, suddenly explodes into color. The taiga forest, so grim and gray just weeks ago, is now carpeted in vibrant green moss and wildflowers that race to bloom. They have only a few short months to complete their entire life cycle, and they waste not a single second. The air is filled with the sweet scent of pine resin and damp earth, a perfume of resurrection. Deep within a hollow beneath the roots of a cedar, a massive shape stirs. A Siberian brown bear, groggy and thin, blinks into the sunlight. He has slept through the worst of the storms, his heart beating only a few times a minute. Now his metabolism ignites. He steps out into a world transformed. He is hungry, but for now, the simple pleasure of the warm sun on his fur seems enough. He grazes on the fresh sedge grass, a king returning to his throne. Around him, the forest is chaotic with life. The chipmunks, who spent the winter hoarding nuts in underground bunkers, dart frantically across the forest floor. The migratory birds return in great clouds, filling the air with a cacophony of song's territorial claims, mating calls, the noise of a million reunions. The insects hatch, providing a feast for the returning flocks. The Siberian wilderness is no longer a tomb. It is a nursery. Everywhere you look, new life is entering the world. Fawns take their first stumbling steps in the tall grass. Wolf pups tumble out of their dens to play in the sun. It is a time of plenty, a frantic, joyous explosion of energy. The hardship of winter is not forgotten, but for this brief, shining moment, it is forgiven. Life has won. As the sun sets, casting long, golden shadows across the rejuvenating land, we are reminded that in the Siberian wilderness, peace is always temporary. The warmth of spring is a gift, but it is also a fleeting pause in a relentless cycle. The winter will return. The ice will reclaim the rivers, and the white silence will fall once again. But this is not a story of despair. It is a story of triumph. We have journeyed through one of the most unforgiving environments on our planet. We have witnessed the survival instinct in its purest form, not just as a fight for breath, but as a masterpiece of adaptation. From the cooperative genius of the wolf pack to the solitary patience of the snow leopard, from the microscopic warmth of the musk ox's wool
to the mighty engineering of the beaver. Every creature here carries a torch of life that refuses to be extinguished by the cold. Siberia teaches us a profound lesson.
It reminds us that life is not entitled to exist. It must earn its place every single day. In our modern world of comfort and convenience, it is easy to forget the raw power of nature. But here, thousands of miles away from the nearest city, the ancient rules still apply. It is a place that humbles us, forcing us to recognize our own fragility and the preciousness of the world we share. These vast, untouched landscapes are more than just scenery. They are the lungs of the Northern Hemisphere, a critical sanctuary for species that have nowhere else to go. They are a living library of evolution, holding secrets that have survived since the Ice Age. To lose this wildness would be to lose a part of our own soul. As the stars begin to emerge in the crisp night sky, millions of them, burning with a clarity you can only find at the edge of the world, we leave the Siberian wilderness to its rightful owners. They will continue their dance of predator and prey, of death and rebirth, long after our footprints have faded from the snow. Thank you for taking this journey into the wild with us. If this story of resilience and beauty touched your heart, or if it reminded you of the enduring power of nature, please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. We read every story you share. To continue exploring the untold wonders of our natural world, consider subscribing and joining our community. Together, let us keep the spirit of the wild alive. Until next time, keep looking up and keep wondering.